Nope, we're gonna wait. Hey, Link students, welcome back. Good to see you guys once again. Hey, we are continuing our Everybody Club series. Super excited for Everybody Club. Love this series and this message because Jesus is for everybody. The gospel is for everybody. I was turning to my Bible thing, that's why I wasn't looking at you. But now we're in 1 Thessalonians 4:9. This week we are going to be in 1 Thessalonians through 2 Thessalonians. So 1 Thessalonians 4:9 says, now concerning, so this is Paul, Silvanus, and Timothy, and they're writing to the church of the Thessalonians. And they write this to them. They say, now concerning brotherly love, you have no need for anyone to write to you. For you yourselves have been taught by God to love one another. For that is indeed what you are doing to all the brothers through Macedonia. But we urge you to do this more and more. So this is a really cool piece of encouragement. You guys are going to be reading this week, and the message to the Thessalonians is rather light. Some of them can be pretty mean. Sometimes it's like, hey, you guys have got to stop it. You done messed up, and we're done with it. But here in Thessalonians, it's a little bit of a nicer message, and especially the way they celebrate them for loving each other, that they have love for one another. And then in 5:11, it says, therefore encourage one another and build one another up just as you are doing. So encourage and build each other up just as you are doing. They encouraged their friends. They pointed out that they were doing something well and wanted them to keep doing it. In our lives, since Jesus is for everybody, and we want to show Jesus to everybody, we need to make sure that we are celebrating our friends. Now, this is kind of a weird, simple message that I wasn't super sure about when I prepared this, but I think it's really, really important that we talk about, as people who are following Jesus, it's important to celebrate the people around us. In Thessalonians, they celebrated, or in the book of Thessalonians, the letter of Thessalonians, I don't know, they wrote to them and were celebrating how loving they were. They were celebrating something they did right. But sometimes we can even celebrate our friends and encourage them even when they do something wrong. So here in Genesis, we have the story of Joseph and his brothers. We have all kind of heard this before, and since it's just the YouTube video, I'm going to speed up and give you a short version, but his brothers ended up selling him, and they thought he ended up dying, and his brothers really, really betrayed him. His brothers betrayed him. And now Joseph was in a position of honor. And Joseph had every right to treat his brothers however he wanted. Because not only was Joseph in a position of power, but his brothers were coming to him in order to get food and some things that they desperately needed. So this is after his family. He already forgave them, and we hear this story a lot when we talk about forgiveness. But now their father died, so his brothers, they got a little scared. They said, now that our father died, and Joseph loved our father, and he was his favorite son, now maybe Joseph is going to hate us and pay us back for all the evil that we did to him, which they deserved. So they sent a message to Joseph saying, your father gave this command before he died. Say to Joseph, please forgive the transgressions of your brothers and their sin, because they did evil to you. And now please forgive the transgressions of the servants of the God of your father. And Joseph, he wept when they spoke to him. This literally drove him to tears. And his brothers also came and fell down before him and said, behold, we are your servants. But Joseph said to them, don't fear, for am I in the place of God? As for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good. I love that. To bring it about that many people should be kept alive as they are today. So do not fear, I will provide for you and your little ones. Thus he comforted them and spoke kindly to them. Here, his brothers, they humbled themselves. They said, we'll be your servants. Please don't kill us. And instead of even just being nice and saying, okay, fine, I'm not going to kill you, he actually went out of his way to say, no, no, no. He said, I'm not in a place to judge. God is the one who judges, not me. And he said, and even though you messed up, like, he's aware that they are repentant. They feel bad about this. So he says, even though you did something wrong, it still turned out for good. God intended it for good. He was encouraging them, even though they did something wrong, even though they did something wrong against him and it hurt his feelings, he was encouraging them and said, don't worry. God's got this all figured out. So I think when we are around our friends, just our little nugget for today is that we need to be loving and encouraging to all of our friends, to everybody we know. And when they do something great, we can say, hey, you're doing this really well and I'm proud of you. Thanks for being a man of God or a woman of God. And then if they do something wrong, then we can remind them, hey, you know what? God is the one that's on the throne and I still love you and God's going to make this work out for better. So I love you guys. It's good to see you. Remember that we can show this love to everybody, not because of our own strength, not because we're good and humble people, but because Jesus, who is God, God himself, came to the earth and lived a perfect life and then died for all of us so that we could be forgiven of our trespasses, of our sins, of our wrongdoings. He died so that we could be forgiven, and then he rose again to show us that he is stronger than death, and so that he could continue to live with us. So we don't serve a distant and far off God, but now it's no longer us who lives, but it's Jesus who lives through us. So sometimes when we're in a difficult situation like Joseph was, and we get to say, you know what, it's no longer I who am alive, but it's Christ who lives through me, and he would be showing them forgiveness. So let me allow Jesus to show that forgiveness in this moment. So I love you guys. Remember to encourage your friends. Try to find some people, some times that this week you can encourage your brothers, your sisters, your family members, even your pets. I love you guys, and I can't wait to see you again soon.
It's time for offering. We always give 10% back to God. Your donations help us keep this ministry going. So all you've got to do is get your mom and dad, and you can text the word give to this number below. We always give back 10% of what we earn to God. We use that money to do cool videos like this, to minister to people, to tell them about Jesus. We even feed them in our food pantry.
Thank you guys so much for watching this week's Church at Home. If you guys are younger and in elementary school, you have your own channel at Kids in the Sun. And if you guys are older and in the Mix, check out the Mix Orlando. They both have YouTube and Instagram accounts, so you guys can check those out. We'll see you next week.